Well, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Sen, for the opportunity to finally visit India. I've been trying to do this for a long time. I also, while they're trying to get my slides together, also want to thank the opportunity to be here and hear particularly a lot of the students this week. It was really encouraging, exciting to hear the innovation, the cross conversations, and really felt that they are the hope of the future of this intent to be integrated science for the purpose of really not only being resilient in the face of all these changes, but that's forward, okay. But also this aspect, which we didn't hear a lot about this week, of sustainability, of being able to really do this for the long time and recognizing that we are fully at the mercies of a changing climate, changing worlds, changing policies. I want to reflect a little bit on some of the things I heard in the last few days. I want to update you on some of the experiences that I have supported and sponsored in my work. I'm currently with NASA. I've been with NOAA and the Weather Service. I worked with the Geologic Surveys, worked with the UN and many of the others here. And I met Dr. Sen at a ministerial meeting on disasters in Mongolia a few years ago. And so those are a lot of the different interactions that are pushing and pulling and driving us. But the title I pulled off here from even the morning session, this idea of bridging, making the connections. That's where my strengths are. That's where I think the emphasis needs to be. What I heard in a lot of the talks this week were these excellent projects. The question now is, with IDRiM and others, can we really make this programmatic? Can we pull the pieces together? So the outline, and I have more than 30 minutes worth of material, but I'll do what I can. And I've asked for people to wave their arms when it starts getting close, is talk about the idea of what is it going to take to merge our science, our policies, our practices to really get to what I like to call a sustainable resilience. My suggestion is that we need to really think of things in a systems way. Those who are in engineering often think about systems. In science, we think about natural systems. But we really need this within our disaster realm, all the different pieces fitting together. There are a number of frameworks. Our frameworks need to come together. There's a number of drivers and motivators and programs and initiatives and institutes. And this is a forum that I've seen a lot come together. We're also at a time where our technology is enabling us to do things we've never been able to do before. So I made a comment here of finally putting the pieces together, because I think we're at that point. So I'll talk about Earth systems and social systems, scalability of what we do from global scale to local scale, personal scale. We have different practices, and people asked this week about, can I get your data? Can I get your algorithms? So this idea of open science and open source information. Can we search it, find it, and trust it? In this disaster realm, that's more important than almost anything, is that idea of trust. There's a talk this morning about, do we really trust? Is that an obstacle to move forward? People have stopped asking for forecasts and said, don't give me a promise of what will absolutely happen. I need scenarios. I need to know what my choices are. So give me scenarios of how things might go forward. Now, the next topic I have up there is called NISAR. How many people in this room know what NISAR is? I see 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, by the end of this, one of the objectives is for you to know what NISAR is. I'll give you a hint. N is for NASA. What's I for? India. Okay. So it's a joint mission between NASA and India. I'm going to talk about models of models, because there's no one model that really answers all the questions. And so we've done some projects where we're not creating new models. We're actually putting the models together. And then hopefully we'll have some time. Now, one of the other aspects is, where are we going? Integrating for what purpose? Sustainable to what purpose? Is it just to survive? adapt, recover. I would say what we're really trying to do is the world will continue to change and stresses and shocks will continue to happen, but we are smart, collaborative, and can thrive in the face of all that. But to do that, we really do need to take this systems approach, and we need to have metrics of making progress of how resilient are we getting in order to know we're making strides. There are increasingly number of shocks, either show up in the news or in our backyards, in our regions or our areas. The prevalence of wildfires, floods, and others that you've heard this week. But to put it together, we've done a lot of work in the environmental side. We've got to include the social, and governance refers to the policies and practices. So the environment, social, and governance choices that we make will lead us to sustainable decisions. And the resilience insight is more than just information, more than just the wisdom. But what's that real insight that's going to trigger us to move in the right direction? Humanitarian responses are changing. The impacts on people and communities at different scale. And here's an example of where satellite imagery started to show where damage and infrastructures were changing so that people could translate that into evacuations, and not just evacuations knowing where it was bad, but actually knowing where it was safe, and also knowing where they could come back very quickly. And our coasts and our areas are changing. There's erosion and sea level rise, and in some areas rise, in other areas subsidence. So the idea of resilience, most people are living in coastal areas. The resilience of our climate change in coastal areas and how that is impacted by monsoons or floods or development practices. There's been a number of efforts over the years at different scales, the Sustainable Development Goals to local community plans, in order to understand how heat and emissions and water resources and how all those fit together on these different drivers at different scales is something that we need to do if we really want to make impacts at the community level. Now, one of the things that came out of the Sendai framework, which was 2015, and before that was the Hyogo framework. Now, I'm old enough that I was actually in Japan when we were crafting the Hyogo framework. And I was telling some students at lunch, at that time, it was all about us being victims to disasters. It was about poverty and displacement. When Sendai came around, we actually recognized in words that science and technology would move us into a positive area because it was solution-oriented. We went from being victims to the idea that we could actually contribute to this. Moreover, we said it wasn't just the physical science. It was the social economics. It was health. We had to bring all those together. We had to go from local and regional and different scales. So we developed this idea of working together. Now, the forum this week was described as a dialogue. And I really liked that. So I wanted to reference the fact that this was intended to be a dialogue, a place where we could really trust our conversation, share our ideas, promote that learning that we need to do from different disciplines, convening diverse views, diverse cultures, personalities, languages, and then come out of this in this collective way. I want to give credit to this society coming together because I think it is one of those unique fora to do this. Now, having goals and aspirations is one thing. There's me at the end of a panel a number of years ago at one of these UN meetings. We came out with sustainable goals and climate goals and disaster goals and urban goals. Well, the reality is progress towards those is very slow. Some of us knew it would be slow, and others were kind of, well, if we say it enough times, somehow it'll become true. Right now, the opportunity here and in this room and among our colleagues that couldn't join us today is, I think, a time to really scale this up and accelerate. to really move things forward. Not only move it forward in the strictly science way, but the idea that you're embracing culture, equity, diversity. Those have been some of the obstacles to move forward because we couldn't do it in those silos. So the intent here is keeping the promise alive. Now, last week was the 78th opening of the United Nations. I was in New York. And what was interesting is while all the presidents and prime ministers were all meeting over at the UN building, the UN also hosted the science community. It was Science Week and Climate Week in New York. The entire city was focused on how do we move forward this promise. These are directly out of the discussions that were brought up from the science community in the UN Science Week. Apply science and technology, innovation, and data for transformation. So we're all on the same page, and we're getting it discussed at the policy level, technical level, cultural level. At the same time, our technology is going through massive upheavals. Generative AI as an example of one that I think is going to shake things up. A few years ago, it was just big data. A decade ago, it was sort of visualization. We're seeing things now fill the gap. So AI and machine learning, it's more than just a buzzword. Many of you as researchers are actively exploring what you can do with it. Because the idea of understanding these scenarios is perfect for what we can do with Earth systems and a AI enhanced capability. I think that's going to propel us into the next era. I presented this to the National Academy of Sciences in Washington just this week, with the idea that this should be this priority of bringing Earth science, disasters, generative AI, these tools together. Strengthening resilience is about this ability to move from left to right here, coming together as a community, looking at what our situation is, understanding that our homes and our neighborhoods are going to be impacted. Remote sensing or other ways to sense what's changing on the planet, and then turning it into maps, tools, things that we can share, but also understand. And then on the other side there is, that's not good enough. The risk assessments that some of us have talked about, handing them off and then nothing happens. But that last one, building resilience communities, taking action, understanding what our science translates all the way across this cycle. The global to local means understanding everything that goes around. Many of your projects this week were hyper-local, great community work, and we need that. But we also need to make sure that we're learning from best practices all around the world. Many of us are sharing data. So the vision here is to really share the knowledge, get the insights so that we can inform choices. I have a colleague in London who wrote a book called Disaster by Choice, Milan Kelman. And then I funded him to do a project called Disaster Avoided. Because if we understand what our choices are, the scenarios, we can make supportable decisions and guide actions, and understanding that guiding means revising as you learn, because we will make mistakes along the way, but we need to have the dialogue to keep learning. Now, many of you this week were interested in landslides, and I was kind of itching in my seat saying, did you know that NASA has a global landslide capability? So if you didn't know that, there's free and open landslide tools that scale to community examples. This was for displaced communities that went from probably a safe area to putting themselves on the side of a hill subject to landslides. So they went from one political instability to one of physical instability. But there's tools and maps and partnerships there. You're welcome to join. So collaboration is key. The observations, the information, turning it into maps, models, tools. Visualization in ways that we can now understand, interpret, and then a host of new frontier technologies to really, someone said this is a device for sending information, for knowledge, and for sharing. And so we need to start thinking about that. Now, one of the things about trust and ability to do this is you need to find the information. I funded a project working with a group calling, bringing data and models together, with the idea that as we think about all the systems and all the information, and you all have data and you all have models, perhaps you're going to share them. But one of the things about trust is whether you're your insurance sector or land planners, you kind of want to know where it came from. And very often in our papers and in our results, all that information gets merged and you lose provenance. So working with a group now, so not only do you see and find information, but you really also get the ability to understand where did it come from so I can trust it. So this is a consortium with what's called the Open Geospatial Consortium. It's global, and it's about bringing data and models together in a way that we can trust, standardize, and find. It's a platform that brings other platforms together, but what's really excited a lot of people is this isn't creating new things. This is, again, this idea of integrating what you have in a way that you can contribute to and people can find, trust, and learn from. Now, once you get that data and models and things together, I talked about that having an assessment is not good enough. So groups that are now working in the cloud, taking advantage of that environment to build cloud-based plans. So you can contribute to, interact with plans that now allow you to take that wonderful information, those assessments and things you've done, in whatever community, at whatever scale, and move them from these science reports or technical reports or assessments into plans that can be funded, that can be supported, that can be staffed. That's a huge gap, and especially for the students to understand. Is your wonderful work, which you think will be picked up, needs to get into a plan, it needs to get funded, and it needs to get support. And so working with people who can help bridge that gap. And there's a project on flood and wildfire that was funded by me 10 years ago. I thought it was great. And it wasn't until it got into the cloud that people said, oh, I know what it is. I know I can use it. And now it was used at the Maui fires just a few weeks back. So putting data together also means understanding the quality. It means understanding that you have, one of the things that came out of New York as well as in this disaster and risk area was biodiversity, big message. Didn't hear that a lot this week. The idea of how the land changes and where we live in the land and where we interact. Carbon accounting and the financial pieces. Again, pieces of our resilient story that maybe we should be highlighting for some of the next meetings to make sure we have understanding there. So capturing the Earth in motion. This is where I wanted to introduce NISAR. So Europeans have a huge constellation of satellites. India, representatives here from Japan and JAXA. United States has probably the largest government satellite system. And one of the things that's changing right now is a lot of universities, a lot of private sector, and believe it or not, nonprofits and philanthropies are putting up satellites for disasters. So NASA and ISRO, the Indian Space Agency, is putting up next year, probably launch in April. It'll be launched from India, a joint satellite called NISAR, which is NASA, ISRO, SAR, sense of radar. Radar satellites are amazing. They do just about everything. The Europeans have the only kind of free and open satellite available. The Japanese, JAXA, have one that's previous generation free and open, the current one for purpose for disasters. And every country will provide their data under what's called the International Charter when the disaster happens. NISAR will be, and like all of the NASA and US satellites, free and open, radar imagery to complement the optical imagery of the Earth. And the big deal there is it does just about everything. It can see through clouds. It can see elevation changes, so damage that happens. It can see, so the earthquake changes, the volcano eruptions. It can tell if vegetation in a crop, if the lines have been moved, if the fields have been disrupted, if ice and snow and landslides are prone. So this will be free and open data. Make a note of it. It'll be open and available come April. And you can get sample data of it now because we made proxy data, so you can start practicing, and all the tools and algorithms will be open and available. It's going to cover the entire world. And the key thing is it comes in it comes in lots of different flavors, frequencies. For the entire world, it's going to be called what's L-band. L-band is the one particularly important for disasters, just a certain scale and size. And then over India, it's going to have a second band, what's called the S-band, which is particularly good for agriculture and crop changes and those types of risks. So those in India have the luxury of having both frequencies of data, and others will have more data than we could ever imagine. And so it can be used for all these different things. But in addition to floods and landslides, et cetera, is on the left lower is we're building in a tasking capability just for disasters. So when things are happening, it can be turned on and pointed and really focused on where there's a situation. Now, if I have a few more minutes, I'm going to talk about this model of models, because flooding was another big topic this week. The United Nations and many others have talked about early warning. Early warning for what? Alerting. That could be awareness. Alerting could be evacuate. Alerting could be turn off that wind farm because something's going to happen, or watch out for that power. So understanding the severity of a flood is important, not just that it's happening. How severe is it? What's the impact? Now, we put together this idea of integration. There's different people working different parts of this problem. Now, the Europeans have a flood model, global flood model. Americans have a flood model. China, Japan, and others have flood models. So we put together the idea of an ensemble of these models. I heard someone this morning talk about the H-Wharf. It's just one model. Put them together. They tend to get 1 + 1 = 3. You get better results. And then the idea of SAR and these new remote sensing capabilities, a hydro-SAR capability is coming online. And since we're interested in risk, we need to understand the exposure and impacts financial. So adding an economic disruption, right? A flood causes a supply chain disruption, causes a hospital to not have the ability to function and have the medicine in place. Stops a community in one side of a state being able to talk to or reach another side. Stops an employee from getting to work. And bring that together on the impacts. Now, the insurance sector likes to talk about, they don't say hazards, they say perils. And there's two types. There's the actual loss, destruction that we often think about, but there is this disruption. The fact of the matter is that floods are one of the most impactful everywhere. That's why it was talked about a lot this week. There's many different types, coastal and riverine, et cetera. Causes billions of dollars of damage. But it also costs probably hundreds of millions or billions more in disruption to our lives. And so one of the things we need to think about with this hazards and risk reduction is it's not just that shock impact, but it's the way it disrupts and then how we recover from it. Think about COVID, right? It came upon us. We lived through it. We realized that it had compound impacts in our lives, getting to work, our economy, sheltering in place, linking disasters to health, to schools. And now the long grind to get out of it. Sustainable resilience insights. We should not be surprised anymore. Early warning should really mean anticipating the changes. The Red Cross movement, which is in every country of the world, it has an international federation, so it has national and international. It actually has a climate program in the Netherlands. Used to be about responding to disasters. A few years ago, along with the German bank and NASA and various others, we started the Anticipatory Hub. We have knowledge to anticipate risk. That is about resilience. understanding what those scenarios are. Again, informing those choices that lead to actionable decisions. Now, getting the economic information in there, a challenge, but making progress. Understanding what those interruptions are and how they could work are making progress. Our regular meteorology community has very advanced over years, and they refer to themselves as an enterprise because they include government agencies and private sector and academics. But it's been proven now that money spent on resilience has a huge return. Now, the model approach was just one example of, I don't know if there's a pointer on here, but on the upper level, there's global flood model, the GLOFAST model, which is a flood model from the agricultural community, the WRF model from the weather community, the flood observatory of the world, and the infrared VIIRS satellite imagery all create global models. The idea was bring all those models together, look at watersheds, integrate that data to standard forms, develop a scale that told us about severity, and put that information out. And that's what's happening. And the idea is early warning system for all. That really blends the best of the type of information. Now, we usually think of disaster risk and warnings and preparedness in terms of what they do. What's framed on this slide is, I like to say, is what's the question that someone is asking at that phase? So if I'm doing preparedness, what am I asking? Because I want to make sure they have an answer to their question. Global flood information is coming from everywhere. As I said, it's looking at the hazard process. It's at a scale of watersheds, which is what's represented there. And so that innovation is bringing it down to that basin, river, and local scales. We've been deploying it. Part of the question is, when you create this, is you need a partner to deploy. So I'm going to talk about that. What used to be called just the Pacific Disaster Center is actually now the Global Disaster Center. They have something called Disaster Aware. And you can get on an app now global coverage from the model of models of where floods are around the world. And you can get flood layers and watershed scale of showing the different severity potentials and shapes and areas and depths. Here in India, scalability from different states and communities. And the idea of these models, and then adding local data to really get from state level to a local level. And recently, just an example of applying it here in Pakistan, nearby in recent floods. Now, this platform idea, India has platforms, many countries have national platforms. Ones that really have full risk information are few and far between. They're usually very discipline oriented. So this is one that we partnered with because it has impacts, it has availability, it's been trusted all around the world. And so the Disaster Aware platform, just one of many, and we're looking for other platforms to integrate and work with, but you can get the imagery, the analysis, but also a description of what you should be concerned with, both in the severity and exposure, but also a description in the context of what does it mean? What should I be doing? What should I be worried about? What should I take in action? And then, of course, you can put it in the palm of your hand. We're seeing more and more that way, and everyone has been using it. And we are looking for additional ways to go forward. Now, one of the enhancements of this is really the predictive alerting idea, and that's where we're bringing in this SAR data capability that I mentioned, along with a number of other types of tools for observations on the ground, in the air, all around. The economic disruption aspects of global economic to local economic disruption. And then different impacts, food impacts, transportation impact, whatever that scale is. So you can see what happens before events, what's your situation, how it's unfolding, and what's the damage or impact. In other words, I like to say we can now tell the complete story. Or we're starting to. Together, we can start telling more complete stories. And so now we've developed this model of models, we can start adding other elements to it. So as I said, with generative AI and more social economics, start adding from floods to water resource management, too much water or too little water for drought, how that connects with wildfires and land management and biomass. And there's a number of organizations starting to do that. And I should mention, oops, oh, we can't do that. Go back. Go back. No, I don't want to go all the way through. Wait a minute. No, it's going to let me go back or not. Ah, can we skip right to the end again? I was on almost the last slide. I was going to say, one of the things that I think, particularly with the students and others, I want to encourage is we often have these two-dimensional like pictures, right? Everything's flat. Part of what the vision here is that we can now really experience the information. We're seeing information that we can share and see in 3D, if not 4D. That's important to us as scientists and as actors. It's important to people who are trying to explain that floodwaters are coming up so that you can actually stand there with real science data, put on goggles or have your glasses and actually see that, oh my God, my street is starting to fill up. That's where I live and that's my bank over there. That's what you've been talking about. And with fires and floods and inundations, we've been working on fully immersive 3D visualization, again, taking advantage that the science is going to transform how we can do what we do and how we can communicate and engage people. Didn't mean to distract you so much. I thought I could just go back one slide. It's okay. The point here is that we're in the last slide here, leave it there, it's fine. That's fine. The outcome is we're at this next phase. Like I have lived long enough through this disaster area and policies and practices that I really think you're in the most exciting time of this, right? We have tools, we have knowledge, we're talking together, we're having this dialogue, we're integrating. So is thriving just too aspirational? I don't think so. I think it's the reality. We can't stop the fire, we can't stop the hurricane, but we can thrive with it. And so we can grow in and around those shocks and stresses. We don't build back better. That was the buzzword after the tsunami in 2004. We build back smarter. And we do that as a collective effort. So those are aspects of resilience, and I like to think of resilient insight. And so thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed your week. I did enjoy meeting many of you, and thank you.
May I request David just to stay there for maybe we'll take one or two questions if there are, and then we'll move on to Professor Mishra's talk. If there are any one or two questions.
Yeah, David, it was a very good talk you gave. And I remember the incident that happened way back in 1979. There was a dam disaster in Gujarat and known as the Machu 2 Dam. And I was involved in the analysis of the work. The information about the dam failure, we didn't know that. India didn't know that, but it was informed by NASA to Indian government that there is a dam has failed because everything was disaster. There was no communication, nothing. And the city, the Machu, there was a city down the dam known as the Morbi, it was totally flooded. That happened in the daytime, 2 o'clock. More than about 10,000 people have died. But that was in 1979. NASA gave the information. But what about the recent incident in Libya, where it has happened 34 years later and the 2 dam disasters happened, more than 13,000 people have lost their life? Whether if this type of system couldn't work there at that time?
Absolutely could. I mean, we are going to have dam failures. We monitor dams, but the point is we need to know what's available to use. That's why I was saying we don't necessarily have to create the new thing every time. We should be fully exploiting the information's available, which means we have to share it. We have to make it understandable. And so could we have done better there? collectively, absolutely. Did we have knowledge that infrastructure is aging and failing, or that instabilities, either political or otherwise, could cause a failure of infrastructure? Yes. Does it remind us that we need to make sure everyone is at the table and understands that and that we're making it available? So that's the work that needs to be done when I talked about getting us together to make sure that people know it's available, it's useful, it's open, if it requires either capacity building or honestly, everywhere I go, there is capacity. They just don't always know they have the tools available to them. It's going to take time, unfortunately, to bring everyone on board, but things like flood, there's patterns that are changing, but we shouldn't be surprised by the scope. And I'm emphasizing that word severity of understanding how big an impact should I be concerned with. So what can we do? Who should we have in our meeting? Where should we be hosting these discussions? And so those are aspects of things we can take actions about. I hope that's somewhat encouraging.
Thank you, David. Any other one, maybe last question? Yeah.
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 So thank you. It was really nice to know about a lot of the aspects that you touched on, and also for a lot of students that we have here, I think they've got to know many tools. So with your talk, what I understood that, you spoke a lot about integrated DRR and integrating these tools, data sets that are there. What I wanted, Ben, because you were representing, at various international platforms, where does this question of inclusivity come when we're talking about Earth observations? So because, in this IDRiM, we're talking a lot about integrated as well as inclusive development or sustainable development. So what are your thoughts on inclusive Earth observation systems?
Right. So I'm glad you asked. I didn't explain that probably very well. So there's kind of two pieces of that, I think, if I could really make it as simple as one is those involved in the information and in the knowledge, the inclusion of more people in the science community, in the social community, in the co-development aspect of all of this. Very often it has been one-sided. Capacity development and development efforts have acted as if no one has capacity, or others will receive wonderful things from others. What we're seeing now is in the creation of this knowledge, of this insight, the idea of bringing that diversity in at the earliest stage and co-creating that. That's being done at different levels. It's being done better in some communities than in other communities, but it's gender, it's age. I've learned some of those lessons from working from the humanitarian side of understanding what it means for different groups within a different culture to have these discussions. I think we need to be more open about just language in general. I remember talking in some of these fora we get together. Right now we're all talking in English, in the majority, at least in open sessions here. But the words resilience, sustainability, disaster, they have different meanings in different cultures. So bringing that shared understanding or appreciation, that's one piece of it. And then the other is we do our science and we do our examples, our pilots and demonstrations, often driven by where do I get resources for this project? Who wants to fund this? But the idea that we can bring our efforts to bear truly where there is that vulnerability and exposure aspect. And so when we get away from talking about hazards and really start talking about truly vulnerability, exposure, and coping capacity, it's where are we targeting our science? What are we demonstrating? So we put a lot of effort into understanding that people who are living in those coastal areas. It's not just about sea level rise, but who lives there? What is their situation? What are they reliant on? And so understanding that context. So part of that aspect is combination of science, education, and culture. I learned that a lot when I worked on the tsunami in the Indian Ocean, where we were doing it under UNESCO, the UN Agency for Science, Education, and Culture. And I thought this is the most perfect place, because just building emergency early warning systems without a cultural context. So those are two aspects. The third one, I think, is communication. Very often as scientists and engineers, we communicate to other scientists and engineers. I've recently engaged with schools of journalism and the media, because that's where people hear about science. They hear about disasters. They see the news. And so I think the other aspect of this is in the inclusive part is a communications piece, embracing a communications culture that that has that perspective. Okay.
Thank you, David. And
Thanks.
I think we will have to stop here,
Okay.
but
Right.
before you go, I would like to ask Anna, Professor Anna, to come and facilitate David for a beautiful talk. And yeah, meanwhile, I would also like to tell David is going to go along with all the students and the participants for the field trip tomorrow, so you can more interact with him. Yeah, he will be available fully there.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Yeah, with you too. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and,
Oh.
okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Now we'll move on to the second keynote speech by very beloved Professor Bijay Anand Mishra, and he is online with us. Unfortunately, he is having some health issues, but still he is really passionate about the disaster risk reduction, the disaster group, and he has been working with IDRiM for a long time. So meanwhile, the PPT is going to come. Professor Mishra, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear.
Thank you. So, Professor, I just very briefly introduce Professor Mishra. He is an emeritus professor of School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. He has been a very supportive role as an advisor for SADRI, which is located in CoEDMM, IIT Roorkee. Played a big role to bring IDRiM one more time to IIT Roorkee and India. And he has 40 years of experience in urban planning and urban management, and also in disaster risk management. He has a key interest in integrated disaster risk management, works with grassroots initiatives in creating resilience community, what David started talking about resilience. He has also worked in there. So I'll not take much time. And Professor Mishra, we
Yes.
have your slides shared. Are you able to see it?
Yeah, can you see my video?
Yes, sir, we can see you. Can you make
Yes.
his video?
Oh, sorry. Can you see my video?
Yes, sir, we can see your video.
No. Just a minute. Yeah. Can you see? Can you see me on the screen?
Yes, sir, we can see you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you very much. I understand, Professor Moderator, that what time I have? I have about 30 minutes to speak. Okay.
Yes, sir. When it will be 25 minutes, I
So-
will tell you that's 5 minutes left. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. And now I should begin now. See, I extend a very warm welcome to all the participants here. Good afternoon, and to this last plenary session and my presentation. You know, my presentation is about implementation gaps between knowledge and practice in disaster management. Implementation gaps in disaster management, which we call the missing metrics, has been discussed in different forums all over the world for the last decade. A deeper understanding of the topic and exploring scientific efforts to bridge the gaps are rather very recent. So, and you know, in the first day of this conference, we had a very useful session organized by Professor Okada and friends on this topic. And what he mentioned and emphasized is that the attempt is to develop a discipline called implementation science. Why this is so important nowadays? Implementation gaps, which are already known, and they're all over the world in different levels. Particularly, these gaps are very clear and widening in developing countries like India and others. So I said I will go to the next slide later. Let me finish the introduction. You know, last decade, and we know there is a significant advancement in technology and scientific knowledge in disaster management and DRR. However, implementation actors who really work on the ground, they have not been able to make full use or benefit of this knowledge. And this is because of gaps that exist between the knowledge and practice. So that is the big basic question I'm addressing here. And what is really alarming is that these gaps are widening, and these gaps retard any kind of DRR effort, and also creates a confusion and increase the loss, economic loss and human loss. So we know world is passing through an unprecedented period and so on, and the global disaster scenario is dynamically changing very fast, and that all the more makes our attention much deeper into the implementation science. If I think in future, if you have to really be successful in DRR or disaster management, we have to look much deeper into the implementation science and the missing metrics in them and to bridge them. So my presentation on these countries, South Asian countries, which is a world hotspot in disaster. And I draw most experts of 5 countries of South Asia: India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bangladesh. And now, please go to the second slide.
Yes, sir, changed.
Yeah. And I highlight that disaster risk reduction and inclusive disaster management, I focus on inclusive disaster management, is a global concern and more demanding than ever before. The last decade, world has seen significant advancement in scientific and technical knowledge on disaster reduction. But at the same time, we see the missing links in the implementation gaps are there. So that is the reason that implementation science and bridging this comes to the forefront of our concern. Next slide, please. Changing disaster scenarios shows a dangerous blend of natural phenomenon and persistent man-made unplanned interventions. We know that there have been several studies, scholarly analytical studies on this. And we say, then recently I saw in US and European countries a survey that shows that all the climate change impact that you see here now is 75% only due to unplanned intervention, human intervention, and only 10% natural. So that really puts us back in the sense that how deep this implementation science should be. So next slide, please.
So slide number is what? Major cause for gaps?
Yeah. Next slide is next slide is major challenge in disaster implementation, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we have seen this. The scientific knowledge on one side, scientific means, I say, inclusive of technical knowledge. Technical expertise has grown very fast in that. But it is really a concern why most of this knowledge is not being translated effectively to benefit the ground action levels. So this is the gap between which we are talking. And so what are the reasons for this? How we proceed to bridge the gaps? What sort of models will work? How do you look to the future? These are the basic questions that really hit us, and we would try to find some answers to it. So as I said earlier, my focus is drawing more on the experience of experts, because I thought actual factual experiences getting from the field is more important than any kind of a guesswork or theoretical exercise. So okay, next slide,
Professor
please.
Professor Mishra, which slide number? Ground level?
The issue, major cause of gaps between DR policy and practice.
Yes, sir. It is there.
Yeah, this shows you will all know that policy formulation and real world implementation actors in DRR belong to different domains, often based on competing interests and also weak synergy. They have very weak communication between them. And even though the factual facts on both sides are really strong, but there is hardly any synergy between this. Perception and understanding of DRR risk priorities at the community level. And we saw just now, Professor, talking about the social economics and the emphasis on social aspects of development. Perception and understanding of DRR priority at the community level by the policymakers often, get blurred at higher levels due to dominance of top-down approach and low understanding of the local capabilities addressing the DRR. This is what I say is not my own thinking. This is actually realized fact all over. You see the countries even in Asia, like Japan and China, there is a very strong top-down. Japan is different. Japan, this top-down process, very, very well articulated and very well posed, but it's not so in other countries. Next slide, please.
So changed.
So next slide, please. And I think one of the major deeper understanding is, in this context, is that deeper understanding about the contextual aspects of the DRR issues. We see in South Asia, there are countries, the problems may appear to be very similar, but there are very different ways they experience it and the community experiences it. And in South Asia, a global hotspot has typical contextual situations related to geopolitical factors, poverty, and high population pressure, and presence of unplanned development. Next slide, please.
Change, sir.
You know, this next slide, please. As I said earlier, this is all based on the views expressed by top experts who are really passionately working for our alliance, that is Chaudhary. And they are actually the ground level actual implementation actors. And they are trying best to have a link between the ground level actions and the policymakers. So their views, I thought, are very important. So I focused on their views, and these views are obtained only last month. And with through a kind of survey I conducted. It is interesting that there is a significant similarity among the experts' analytical views on knowledge process gaps in practice across all the countries. What is it? Even the countries in South Asia are different in many ways, but there are striking similarity in terms of the reasons for these sort of gaps. So, however, the countries have different legal and administrative mechanisms in DRR and deeper understanding of the community level innovative initiatives and humanitarian issues. For example, Bangladesh, I talk about. Bangladesh DRR approach focuses better understanding of humanitarian aspects. They have tried to build it into the governance process at different levels. This is a very right process, rightly done in that process. And also an anticipatory action mechanisms. So these are some important points which I would like to emphasize. Next slide, please.
Changed.
What are the common views among the experts there? So common views, I have listed here, a few of them. And we know the weather-related disasters, whether you talk of floods, snow, drought, even. See, these are sometimes very funny the way it is happening. You see recently the floods all over India. And at the same time, there are areas where suffering very badly from droughts. So the whole system of weather-related disaster have changed their way they occur. Their incidence also has changed. Not only their frequency has changed, all that. The timely and more effective two-way sharing of knowledge between the government policy. So I will read out what are the common views of the experts of these 5 countries. Weather-related disasters, especially their increasing frequency and severity, are the top DRR concerns in the region. Notwithstanding useful efforts at the government policy level, the fast-changing scenario demand better and more inclusive intervention. Second, timely and more effective two-way sharing of knowledge between the government policy level and the ground level actors remains very weak in all the countries. All governments should make stronger effort and devise mechanisms better results. Third common view is scientific documentation of community level evidence-based knowledge. Innovation in DRR sharing is very, very scarce. And the access to those are very, very difficult because they are not in the public domain, and most of these are not scientifically documented, and their availability are scattered. And these are very important documents for us in order to go ahead with the implementation of science gaps. Research institutions, universities in these 5 countries are not doing enough toward this item of documentation and sharing community level exercise. They are doing some work, but that is not enough considering the magnitude of the problem we face in the countries. And government is not allocating sufficient funding for DRR research to institutions and universities. This is a very important aspect. Why there is an apathetic attitude at the government level on this very crucial aspect of development and reduction of risk and human suffering. Government identification and cooperation with all NGOs and self-help groups which promote local leadership, assist disaster relief and reconstruction, essential. Financial and technical support to them by the government necessary for documentation and sharing of local knowledge. Policymakers should change their mindset. I use the word mindset here because we know how the higher level policymakers work. They have some kind of mindset. They don't call it mindset, but we generally who work in the ground level, we know it is a mindset. For all DRR control and dominance of bureaucracy, resolve conflicting views on DRR prior perspectives at policy level and community level, and be more inclusive and promote better sharing of knowledge two ways, downward as well as upward. Next slide, please.
Professor Mishra, can you wrap up in 5 minutes, please?
Yes.
May I request?
Next slide. Next slide, please.
Professor Mishra, can you wrap up in 5 minutes, please?
Sorry,
Can you wrap up in 5 minutes, next 5 minutes, please?
next 5 minutes. We
Yes, sir.
started. But anyway, I will try to.
Please,
I
please.
will try to conclude within 5-10 minutes.
So 5
so-
minutes, please. Thank you.
Sri Lanka, I have mentioned in the slide what are the major problems of Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. But you can see from the slide there is a very constructive effort for both the countries to advance and go ahead on the bridging the implementation gaps. So, and the next slide goes to the Bangladesh. And then last I come to recommendations. Go to recommendations, please.
Yes, sir.
And what I say in all this many of different concerns and efforts, there is, I think, there is a great need for a paradigm shift in DRR policy and practice towards enabling local institutions to be capable and prepare local integrated development plans within the framework of the national policy. This is exactly not happening. Most of the cases are the local people don't have enough manpower, and the manpower are seconded from higher levels, and they carry largely the thoughts of the higher levels. So that is one. And local communities are not given enough expertise or time or funding to do their own plans for development and fix their own priorities, which are more important than something coming from the top. Local government agency, so the NGOs, self-help groups, and the local champions. Accordingly, necessary made in the next, please. Recommendation, second recommendation is local governments and NGOs and other such local groups should be supported by government training initiatives. And training incentive means for promotion of systematic learning from evidence-based lessons in DRR efforts during disaster and recovery stages. The lessons should be scientifically documented. And who will do it? It is the research institutions, the universities, who should be supported fully to do this. And that could be available for on a portal in the public use. National state level concerned ministry at the DRR Management Authority should establish effective mechanisms. Various DRR research agencies and local agencies and develop techniques and methods how the knowledge can be integrated with the policy. This is also a major lacuna with the government thing now. They are trying, but I think a long road to go. Recommendation 4, promote interactive ICT mediums, such as seminars, open discussion meetings, and trainings at the supra-local policymakers and local DRR actors. So the interactive workshops and for sharing and sharing knowledge and also developing confidence in both and trust on both is very important. Sharing critical knowledge in DR with the national and regional disaster research agencies, such as SADE, as I told earlier. Concerned central ministry and agencies engaged in DR should set up easy access digital portals. This is very easily said than done. Easy access digital portals for wide dissemination and sharing of their knowledge. I think these are some of the things. I'm sorry I had to rush through what I wanted to say, because this is just, I see it is just 22 minutes for me, but I thought that it was over time. Anyway,
Professor Mishra, you have done a very good job. I think everyone understood, but yeah, there is a time. Thank you very much for sticking with the time.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for this.
May I request any quick 1 or 2 questions, or any, Professor Mishra has lots of experience, just maybe 1 or 2, some thoughts if you want to have it from.
And
Thank
the
you very
Professor
much, Professor Mishra. This is Nori
Professor-
Okada. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Professor Mishra, Professor Okada is asking you a question.
Can you hear me?
Thank-
First,
Okay.
let me just express my hearty gratitude. And also, I'm always amazed by your sort of never-ending energy and curiosity that really impact us. So you're really a good post-career model for us. But anyway, and I understand the long list of experience and your points, but let me just put it this way, simply. You are from the field of urban planning and also public planning, but you are also now getting into the field of disaster risk reduction and integrated disaster risk management. Put this kind of thing into the context. For instance, say, could you give us your experience of some changes that you have already seen after, urban planning people wanted to and tried to be more integrated within the domain of disaster risk reduction, or vice versa? And yeah, so it'd be great if you can say, give us just one piece of example that may be very illustrative. Thank you.
Professor Mishra, did you hear the question?
Thank you. You want me to respond, Professor Okada?
Yes, sir,
Yeah,
very briefly.
I fully agree with you. Yeah, my background, whatever maybe what I've learned with the last 30 years of work in this, that when you really go into a wider field and the realm of understanding is widening, expanding, then all the discipline boundaries get blurred. Though we need to get essence out of our disciplines into this. I must say that within years, I'm really thankful to many with whom I have interacted on this subject, including Professor Okada, and see that it is not only the defeating attitude. I must say we must move ahead. And how to do that? How is more important what to be done? So how is I think, in my opinion, is most important that should be done. Thank you, Professor Okada.
Thank you, Professor Mishra. I think with this, we will close this session, and I'll hand over to Shivani.
Thank you so much, Professor Singh. Now I would like to invite Professor Sen again, Professor Anna, Professor Tatano, and Professor Piyush for the valedictory ceremony.
Okay. Yeah. So we are starting our valedictory session. It is a fantastic session because all the students who have been presenting their work during the last 3 days, they will be judged, or they have already been judged, but they are waiting for their awards. But above that, also the IDRiM Society also has the different awards to be facilitated. So for that, we will start with the IDRiM Awards, and then we'll move on to the 2024 IDRiM conference presentation. And then later on that, we will move on to the YSS awardees. And then we will end with Professor Anna's and myself. So I'll hand over to Professor Tatano.
Okay. Unfortunately, the committee was head, who is Adam Rose, cannot attend this meeting in person. So as one of the member of the IDRiM Award Committee, I'd like to introduce the award winners to you. Okay, then can you open the the Distinguished Research Awards first? Okay, the Distinguished Research Award. This is to acknowledge members who have made significant contributions by providing path-breaking research to the disciplines. This year's award for 2 persons. The first awards go to Dr. Aniela Mendora, former researcher of the Joint Research Center of the European Commission and the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis. I'd like to explain briefly why we present this award to the Professor Aniela Mendora. Here's the person opened the field to the research on dynamic reliability by development of a dynamic analysis methodology of an accident sequences, and organize international benchmark analysis on risk and reliability analysis of nuclear power plants and measure hazardous installations. Involved Karlsruhe Institutes and the Bologna and the R&D activities, the thermal hydraulic was the design of a reactor course in the frame of European Association for the Development of the Fast Breeder Reactors, and gave organized courses on matters linked with his R&D activities in a number of EU universities. Yeah, actually, he is also the one of the founder of this, I would say, IDRiM Society. So he definitely had an achievement, but unfortunately, up to right now, we did not give him a Distinguished Research Award. So this occasion, we would like to provide this award to him. Thank you very much. But unfortunately, he cannot join us. So we cannot have any speech from him. The yes. Yes. No, okay. Unfortunately, second award is go to Yasuhide Okuyama. Professor, Graduate School of the Social System Studies, University of Kitakyushu, Japan. Yeah, Yasuhide Okuyama's contribution is, okay, achieved the reputation for the research in economic modeling for disaster impact analysis, empirical applications. One of the pioneering work in analyzing estimating the economic impact of disasters, applying the sequential inter-industry models. This is called SIM, and changes in regional economic structure caused by a disaster. Published his research in academic journals such as Economic System Research, Analysis of Regional Science, Journal of Disaster Research, and Disaster Prevention and Management, among others. Publication, 2 edited books, and also many achievements he did. Because of these reasons, we would like to provide IDRiM Distinguished Research Award to him. Thank you very much. Okay, now I would like to show the introduce award winner of the Norio Okada's Implementation Science Award. This award is to acknowledge someone who is not only achieved in the research, but also has worked on its implementation in the practice, public and or the non-profit sectors. This year's award goes to Dr. Paul Kovacs. He is the Executive Director, Institute of Catastrophic Loss Reduction, Western University, Canada. Paul Kovacs' contribution is, that can be summarized the following manner. And he has volunteered for 20 years as a leader of author of the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change and the champion for disaster risk reduction and the leading expert on insurance and extreme risks. Canada's leading authority on insurance and climate change, and has been a contributing author to the numerous international and Canadian reports on reducing the risk of loss from the earthquake, floods, and severe winds. Founder of Executive Director of the Institute of Catastrophic Loss Reduction and adjunct research professor of economics at Western University in London, Canada. Maybe add one thing, right? He is one of the, of course, a local champion who picked up a kind of best practices and lots of cases collected and then utilized based on such a kind of knowledge. He is a very good communicator for the kind of local government and the local citizens actually implement the better, solutions which can be fit for their, situations. I think today the Paul is with us, no? No, unfortunately. Okay, very unfortunate. Next year, he will be at as a kind of the keynote speaker. So I think please wait up to 1 year. But please be in next venue of the IDRiM Society. Okay, then the next prize will go for will be for the Aniela Amendola Service Award. This is Aniela Amendola Distinguished Service Award is to acknowledge members who contribute significantly to the IDRiM Society by providing distinguished services. And then the first prize goes to Professor Vijay Anand Misra. Yeah. I think all of you know him, Professor Emeritus, the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, India. And Professor Misra's contribution is definitely he contributed over 50 years of experience in the development management, urban development and policy and governance, over 20 years experience in disaster management policy and practice. And then UNDP, UNDESA, and the World Bank Principal Advisor, Nepal 2018, Fellow of the Indian Institute of Town Planners, Advisor to the Indian Institute of Technology, SADRI, since 2022, and chair membership committee 2013 to 2021. Maybe I should tell that he is one of the first, let's say, initial, maybe founding member of IDRiM Society. And he was kind of the person start talking about why implementation science is important with Professor Nori Okada. And then he is some sense the further of the salary. Maybe that is not the IDRiM Society, but he would like to introduce a kind of regional, let's say, alliance for in South Asia communities, countries. And now he is also, I would say, would like to, I would say, have a kind of a possibility, seek the possibility of the South Asian chapter of IDRiM Society. He has been very much, I would say, spend energy for the to contribute to expand the, I would say, the IDRiM activities of IDRiM Society. It is really wonderful contribution he made. We would like to appreciate his contribution. Thank you very much. Okay, the second prize for the in the Aniela Mendola Distinguished Service Award is go to I don't know before goes to Alexander Oznu. Yeah, always difficult. I cannot. Professor Babes, maybe I'm wrong for the names. How can I pronounce it? Ozunu, yeah, no. Ozunu, and then university name. Babesh Boyai. Okay, Babesh Boyai University of Jeju Napoca, Romania. Okay, thank you very much. And then his contribution is, okay. He is also the member from the 2009, so it means more closer to 15 years from IDRiM conference at Kyoto University. But the inception of disaster management school at the that university, and then founder of the Institute of Sustainability and Disaster Management at BBU. Okay. Then local head of the organizing committee of IDRiM 2022 at the last year actually in Romania. Okay. Then he is a very also enthusiastic person who was the who involved IDRiM Society for a long period, and the event organizing committee. He is, I would say, also Professor Vijayanand Mishra also is a member, but together with him, he continuously was making a kind of, they would say, a series of the program, especially India, Romania, was say, related topics for the IDRiM Cafe. It's very unique and very interesting. So, and also he is head of the organizer of the last conference. And then he is always give us a very, let's say, positive and important, let's say, contributions. We would like to appreciate his contribution for our society. Thank you very much. Today, I think both of the Mizra Sensei and Professor Mizra and Professor Ozunun is let's say, with us by online. So I'd like to ask them to say a few second speech for us. Thank you. Mizra Sensei.
I'm really honored to receive this award, and I think, in my opinion, I have done quite a bit, as you say, but in my opinion, it is a small contribution to IDRiM. And I am a very senior citizen now, and whatever years I am left with, I will do my best to promote IDRiM as an unique institution of the world. And have expanding network of disaster management scientists and technologists. I really thank and honor as an honor for all the IDRiM society and all the office bearers of IDRiM, Professor Anna including. Thank you.
Professor Ozunu. No sound. Difficult. Doesn't work. Alexander, please say, you are muted. Unmute. We cannot hear you. Okay, now I think you.
Okay, now,
you.
thank you very much. I was muted, but it was not from my side. First of all, thank you very much, professors and participants, to this very nice conference. Thank you for the joy of being together in this important moment of my professional life. It's a dream come true. Yes. Warmest greetings from Cluj-Napoca and hope to see you in person as soon as is possible. And many thanks for all the presentation from this conference. A lot of them I learned a lot, and I want to transmit to my students here and to continue to do something for IDRiM society in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mizra and Professor Ozunu. Thank you very much. And also congratulations again. Thank you. Okay, now I would like to introduce the new award which decided to be introduced from this year. That is lifetime, I'm sorry.
Lifetime, yes. I suggested that.
What? Yeah, please.
Lifetime.
Lifetime, yes.
Anyway, it doesn't make difference.
Lifetime. Lifetime. Lifelong. I see. Okay. Yay. This is new. Okay. Precisely Lifetime Distinguished Service Award. This award is also proposed by Professor Mizra, and then we decided to introduce this. This award is to acknowledge members who contribute significantly to the IDRiM society by providing distinguished service for more than 12 years. Why 12? I'm not very sure. But anyway, 12 years. Okay, then this award goes to Professor Nori Okada. I think everyone know him. And he is a professor emeritus, Kyoto University, Japan, and advisor, Kansei Gakuin University in Japan. Of course, his contribution may be not very easy to count, actually. He took the leadership role in the creation of interdisciplinary research area called Sogo Bosai, Integrated Disaster Risk Management, and in Japan, and led the founding IDRiM Society, and then served as the first president of IDRiM, and then proposed the establishment of the implementation science for IDRiM Society, served on the IDRiM board of directors and as chair of the several committees. Made many conceptual methodological contribution to the IDRiM society, such as pagoda model, Yonmen Kaigi system, smart governance, and so on. Maybe other one, maybe octopus model, so maybe very old, but anyway, there are lots of concepts he provided. But if you don't know, please let me know. I can provide its significant slide to you. But anyway, it's very interesting to know such a kind of the new concepts, right? And then inspired the IDRiM Society with his excellent in research implementation, education, and service. This is the reason why we decided to present this award to Professor Norio Kurd. Norio, again, stand up. Please give him a big hand.
Come to the front.
First, please come here.
I need to be a little bit careful. Yeah? Maybe. Thank you so much for offering me this very fresh and very honorable award to me. With a lot of hesitation, I would just sort of say, reflecting on myself, whether I really deserve this award. But it's also a very positive surprise for me to be offered this type of fresh and innovative award. When I heard the name of this award, I was trying to understand in what way I could justify myself in receiving this award. My interpretation is that although the committee has listed up my past expenses and services, but the way I took it is another way. It means that, say, I have to work eternally. The rest of my life, and I was just trying to check, how long do I have for the remaining years. But anyway, this is a good chance for me to, well, gain more fuels, intellectual fuels, to get myself further juvenilized. And so let me thank you so much. And I really hope that this IDRiM society will evolve further. And I hope I can contribute eternally. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the another set of awards. So we thank you, Professor Tatano, for facilitating that. So now I'll hand over to Professor Piyush.
Thank you, Professor. Mark, would you like to announce these awards? Or I think I should proceed?
Do you want to do the in-person? I'll do the online.
I think you should announce the online, then
Yeah.
Firstly, I can announce the in-person awards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, what we do is we like to say our thanks, and also, so we've had 65 speakers this year, numerous markers. Last time I counted, it was over 20 markers, which is fantastic. This year has been unique. It's the first time we've done it hybrid, and we've had record number of people. So going back from the first year in 2009, the only year that came anywhere close to this year was 2015, which again was held in India. And it goes to show that we are going from strength to strength on the number of young people participating. Just to give the wider context of how this was marked, every person marked it out of 1 to 5, 1 being acceptable, 5 to being excellent, weighted with 4 different criteria: substance of the study, attractiveness of the presentation, presentation ability and discussion with audience. So, and this is the point where I butcher everyone's name, so I will apologize. It's that time of the year for me. In 5th place is Majid Parek from the University of East London. In his presentation of proposing a thematic modelling for integrated risk communication, a study of British and Japanese perspective in flood-prone communities. Now, is he online to accept it? Right, so I can't see from my end, so is he there? Ah, he's there. Can you unmute if you've got a few things to say?
Perfect. Thank you so
There.
much for this. I'm very, very grateful. This is my second IDRiM, and I am really, really excited. I really enjoyed speaking to you all and presenting, and it's been an absolute privilege. And I'm really excited for all the work that's happening, and I want to be a greater part of that. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you. In 4th place was Lena Parra on her presentation of NARTEC events on oil and gas facilities in Colombia, analysis of past events. And I think Lena's there as well.
Thank you, everyone. I'm really surprised. It was an amazing opportunity to discuss with everyone. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So now we're getting to the top 3. So just to put in context, the top 3 will be invited to give a full-scale virtual presentation in December. And in 3rd place is Venju Son from Kyoto University, and his presentation of development of a NARTEC Social Vulnerability Index, a comprehensive multi-hazard risk assessment for a case study in Colombia. And I see him, yeah. He's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you really much. I'm firstly really honored to be invited into have the chance to like present in IDRiM Society. It's my first time, but like I have this one. It's like I'm really, really honored, and I also believe that the presentation of all other students from YSS are as fascinating as well. And I have learned so many things about my field and also like other fields that can like inspire me to learn more about the application of my work. And also, I really want to thank all the people that have helped me here. Actually, like I would like to thank Professor Ana Maria and Professor Miranda Dandolaki and Dimitrios and Lina and Namrun, and also other people that have helped me to develop this study. And thank you really, really much.
Congratulations. So for 2nd place is Sophia Kilogomotoriou. So I'm not up on my Greek, from the National and Kapolistan University of Athens on her presentation of swelling after a disaster, design and spatial improvisation in transitional shelters. Are you there, Sophia?
Hi, I'm very surprised and super excited about this. I'm really honored to receive this award, and I really want to express my gratitude to my mentor, Professor Dandolaki, for her guidance during my master's thesis, which led to this presentation. Thank you for this honor and for all the knowledge I gained these last days. Thanks for everyone participating in the conference. No, thanks a lot. That's it. I'm very happy.
Congratulations, it was a great presentation. And also, I do apologize for butchering your surname.
No, it's fine. It's a difficult surname.
Thank you. Right. So the winner of the IDRiM 2023 Young Scientist Online Award is Rebecca Richardson from Northumbria University, Child-Centered Disaster Risk Reduction, for the creative method to understand hazard scenarios and risk communication pathways for children living in informal settlements, Nairobi, Kenya. Rebecca, it can't join us today. She has to look after a child, but I think that her supervisor could give a few words. Andrew, are you there?
Hello. Yes, sure. Okay, well, it'd be better if it was Rebecca or Becky, we call her, responding. I'm sure she'll be really pleased, but I think her work is quite excellent.
Right.
Okay, and thank you for the great organization of the YSS sessions this year, and also congratulations to all the other people who've been winning awards through it. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thank you. Right, I'm going to mute myself now and hand over to Priyesh to give the in-person ones.
Thank you, Mark. So should I start?
Yes, please. I'll change the screens over.
So the 5th prize Young Scientist Award in Young Scientist session in person goes to Shono Fujita for his presentation on damaged building detection using multiple object tracking and decision tree from aerial videos for disaster response. Shono Fujita, please come.
Thank you so much. So I'm very happy to get this award. So because I have joined in this conference 3 times. So it is first time to get this. So thank you. Thank you.
So the 4th prize Young Scientist Award in Young Scientist session in person goes to Mr. Sudhanshu Dikshit for his study in understanding the catchment characteristic for developing an early warning system in Lesser Himalayas region.
Good evening, all. So I am very happy to receive this Young Scientist Award on such a big platform. I would like to thank to my Professor Sumit Sen, Professor Sri Krishnan for the guidance. And it is overwhelming to be a part of this IDRiM 2023. And yeah, thank you again.
Now it's time to announce the names of the top 3 participants who got gold, silver, and bronze prizes. So they will get a medal along with the certificate. So the bronze prize in the Young Scientist session goes to Ms. Devkala Basudas for her performance, some presentation on exploring the role of theater in influencing eco-feminist awareness, a study in village of Vibhuwati.
I have nothing to say. I'm overwhelmed, and it increased my responsibility towards society and towards academic also, because as Sir said that maybe I get this award for my performance. So which I going to do after a few minutes. So I would, that I have nothing more to say. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you all. Thank you all.
So the second prize, the Silver Prize Young Scientist Award in the Young Scientist session in person goes to Mr. Nombilelo for her presentation and how we would like to be involved towards effective participatory post-disaster relocation and housing reconstruction.
Congratulations. I give, maybe I don't believe it. I give five. No.
Thank you, everyone. It's such an amazing step towards my career. But basically, this award is not mine. It belongs to Tatano Sensei, Samada Sensei, Florence Sensei, Yamori Sensei, because they've been the pioneers behind helping me achieve everything in my research. It's the third time attending the IDRiM, and last year I was third prize. So definitely next year, I'm aiming higher. Thank you very much.
Now the final gold prize Young Scientist Award in Young Scientist session goes to, for the title Heat Stress Indices in Urban Area of Delhi, Mr. Kshitij Kakkar.
Oh, it has been an honor to receive this award. I would like to thank IDRiM Society and YSS for this. And a special thanks to both my guides, Dr. Mahua Mukherjee and Dr. Piyush Srivastav, because all the hard work comes from there. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
So with this, I would like to close this session. Thank you all for being here. For the success of YSS, all credit goes to Munita Sensei and Mark. Thank you both of you for well-planned YSS and for joining us both online, in person, keeping an eye on almost all the young scientist sessions, presentations, making them efficiently and preparing the final results. A big round of applause for Munita Sensei and Mark. Last but not least, thank you, my beloved student team and staff members at IIT Roorkee for helping me quickly process the YSS evaluation sheets for in-person judges. Thank you all.
Now, thank you, Professor Piyush, and it's really wonderful to see the cheers and the smiles on the young scientists' faces. We really thank you all, and we really encourage you all to grow fast and higher and aim higher. So now we will move on to the second part of the this session is the announcement of the 2024 IDRiM conference. So I'll hand over to Professor Anna and to introduce, and then we'll move on to the videos.
Okay, so, well, I'll stay here. We are very happy to announce the host of the IDRiM 2024 conference. And they unfortunately couldn't come in person, although they had even bought their tickets. But they are online. And so let me first announce, so the host of the IDRiM conference 2024 is the National Unit for Disaster Risk Reduction of the Government of Colombia. So congratulations. We're very much looking forward to coming to Colombia. I think the bar, I'm sorry to say, is very high. The conference here has been wonderful. And so let me invite our colleagues from the National Unit for Disaster Risk Reduction to lead us through the videos and presentations. So I turn it over to Maria Camila, Mauricio, and Jason.
Thank you, Professor Ana Maria Cruz. Good morning or good evening to everybody. Thanks for the invitation. From the National Unit for Disaster Risk Management of Colombia, greetings to all the attendees of IDRiM India. I am Mauricio Romero, team member of the next edition of IDRiM to be held in Cartagena, Colombia. Despite our efforts to attend in person, for unforeseen reasons, it was impossible for us to be with you today. During the next few minutes, we want to present the IDRiM event in Cartagena. And for this, we will have a three-part intervention. First, welcome greetings from Luis Carlos Barreto, Deputy Director for Risk Knowledge. Ana Maria, thanks. Appreciate if play the video.
Yes, so the Deputy Director video. We will
Yes,
play it in
please.
a minute. Thank you.
Dear attendees, on behalf of the President of the Republic, Dr. Gustavo Petro, the Vice President, Dr. Francia Marquez, and the Director for the National Risk Management Unit, Dr. Olmedo Lopez, we extend our warm and cordial greetings. As Deputy Director for Risk Knowledge of the National Unit, I would like to express our sincere appreciation for making us part of the IDRiM India Year event. I am pleased to announce that the next venue for the 14th IDRiM Conference with the theme Resident Communities for Life will be the beautiful city of Cartagena in our beautiful Colombia. Cartagena de Indias is a historic jewel of the Colombian coast, where its cobblestone streets and centuries-old walls bear witness to Colombia's rich history and culture. Its colonial architecture, ancient fortifications, and vibrant urban life make it a unique destination in the world. In Cartagena, the past merges beautifully with the present, and the architectural beauty blends perfectly with the quality of our people. The choice of this venue has special significance in the context of the objectives of the National Unit for Disaster Risk Management and President Gustavo Petro's development plan, Colombia, Power of Life. The conference will focus on the 5 main transformations of this plan, such as the human right to food, territorial planning around water, one of the biggest bets of our government, human security, a productive economy for life, regional convergence, and the fight against climate change, where our president is one of the leaders worldwide. IDRiM and our country are joining in a collective effort to address shared challenges. We will work together with the goal of building a safer, more resilient, and sustainable world. Collaboration among our organizations is essential to promote risk management and resilience in communities in diverse territories. Together, we will advance towards a better and promising future for all. We also want to share with you our biggest dream and main bet, the creation of the Latin American Observatory for Disaster Risk Management and Climate Change, whose main purpose is to reduce the vulnerability of decision-making based on information systems. Today, we invite you to join us in dreaming with us, and we can save many lives with prospective actions. We are excited to bring the IDRiM conference to Cartagena e Indias in our country. We hope that all of you can visit us, get to know our beautiful landscapes, interact with our people, and contribute with all your knowledge so that disaster risk management can transform the lives of our citizens and save lives.
Los esperamos en Cartagena e Indias 2024.
So Mauricio and Maria Camila and Jesse.
Thank you, Ana Maria. Second, we will present the technical details of the event entitled Resilient Communities for Life. Ana
One
Maria,
moment as we share the file, the slides.
thank you. For this part, Maria Camila and Jason, the floor is yours.
Maria Camila, you tell us when to change the slides, please. Maybe before. Okay.
So good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity of presenting the host institution for 2024, Resilient Communities for Life, as Mauricio, my colleague, just mentioned. We want to host this event in Cartagena de Indias next year in the second semester in 2024. So next slide, please.
Okay. Cartagena de Indias, a city founded in 1533, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site known for its vibrant colonial architecture. Located on the Caribbean Sea in Colombia, the city offers attractions like colonial fortifications, showcasing a blend of African and indigenous
Maybe next slide.
cultures. Yes, please. With a tropical climate featuring temperatures ranging from 26 to 31 degrees Celsius, Cartagena has become a key of tourist destination, drawing visitors with its beautiful beaches, warm weather, beautiful people, and lively nightlife. Next slide, please.
So,
Okay. IDRiM 2024 is set to be held in Cartagena, Colombia in second half of 2024. Explore the city attractions. So in Cartagena, we have San Felipe de Barajas Castle, a 17th century fortress, providing breathtaking views of Cartagena and the sea. Also, we have the Walled City, the historical heart with lively streets, Colombian cuisine, and welcoming locals. Also, we have the Rosario Island, a nearby archipelago known for pristine beaches and marine life. Nestled in the heart of Colombia's Caribbean coast, the previous slide, please. Thank you. Cartagena de Indias emerged as the perfect backdrop for the IDRiM 24 event, Resilient Communities for Life. The IDRiM 2024 event will unite the global community in a collaborative effort to weave a safer and more resilient future. Distinguished experts in the risk management will converge to share their insights and experiences, fostering cross-border alliances and transcend cultural boundaries. Cartagena de Indias hosts the IDRiM 2024 Resilient Communities for Life. Is tuned with the IDRiM motto, I dream, you dream, we all dream of a safer world for everyone. Next slide, please.
So as we have mentioned, the host institution will be the National Unit for Disaster Risk Management. This unit serves as a central body responsible for coordinating and implementing disaster risk management activities at a national level through the National System for Disaster Risk Management. The system is a government-led strategy that organizes various entities and actions to deal with disasters effectively on a national scale. It encompasses preparedness, response, recovery, and risk reduction efforts. Next slide, please. So hosting IDRiM 2024 will bring benefits to Colombia and Latin America, and it's to Colombia's National System for Disaster Risk Management. From a global understanding perspective, it will also benefit Latin America because it will bring enriching worldwide experiences on integrated disaster risk management. It will also be an important event to the region because it will highlight knowledge exchange and academic growth to the different participating countries. Next slide, please.
This conference will be composed of dedicated organizing committees led by Director Olmedo Lopez, that is the General Director of the National Unit for Disaster Risk Management, and also Luis Carlos Barreto, that is our Deputy Director in the National Unit of Risk Management. Also, we have the Scientific Committee, the Organizing Committee, the Head of Administrative Committee, and the Communications Committee. Next slide, please. Also, Cartagena has a good variety of hotels with auditorium services and convention centers. The following are highlighted for the event. We have the Cartagena Convention Center, the Hotel Hilton, the Caribe Hotel, and the America's International Convention and Exhibition Center. Next slide, please. Cartagena has been a very important venue for different events around the world. It is an important point of research and education, a venue of international events and conference in different fields of knowledge. We can show you the following of the recent events which the city has hosted. Also, we have the International Film Festival, the Global Summit of Public Development Banks, the Summit of Americas in 2012, and Cartagena DRR Regional Platform in 2018. Next slide, please.
So we proposed a 3-day event full of plenary sessions, keynote speakers, and of course, highlighting the importance of the participation of young scientists. Next slide, please. We have proposed also more than 30 topics that are addressing the regional needs in Latin America. This includes the science and technology and innovation in disaster risk reduction, community engagement in disaster risk reduction, or climate justice. We would also like to take this opportunity to build a network that nurtures the foundations of the Observatory on DRM in Colombia and Latin America, which was mentioned previously by our Deputy Director, Luis Carlos Barreto. Next slide, please.
Promote IDRiM principles with a focus on reducing vulnerability, inspiring action, shaping policies, and empowering local communities. The event in Cartagena, celebrated for its beautiful and history, serves as a strategy of platform to enhance IDRiM's visibility and attract global disaster risk management stakeholders. The goal is to introduce IDRiM to the Americas, increasing its influence. Additionally, efforts are underway to strengthen the IDRiM membership network. Partnerships with Colombian institutions enhance IDRiM regional presence, while collaborations with authorities, universities, NGOs, and organizations expand its reach and facilitate knowledge sharing. Next slide, please.
Finally, in the heart of this charming city, IDRiM 2024 will become a beacon of hope, bringing together brilliant minds, visionary leaders, and dedicated communities, where advanced solutions, sustainability, and resilience will intertwine to protect our lives and our planet. We welcome to IDRiM 2024 Cartagena de Indias, Resilient Communities for Life, where together we will forge a safer and more promising tomorrow for all generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria Camila and Jason. Third and finally, we have prepared a promotional video of the event in Cartagena, Colombia.
This is beautiful. Colombia, a country of vibrant landscapes and passionate people, from the majestic Andes Mountains to the beaches of the surrounding oceans, where territories and cultures intertwine in a welcoming embrace, a destination full of magical realism stories to discover and smiles to share. Colombia's geographical location and physical characteristics expose its territory to various hazardous phenomena such as earthquakes, floods, landslides, water shortages, and volcanic activity, among others. In addition to these vulnerabilities, the country has experienced losses and damages due to emergencies and disasters. Since 1985, the response to various crises has strengthened the National Disaster Risk Management System, increasing its capacities for understanding and reducing risk, preparedness for response, and recovery. The focus has been on promoting a more resilient Colombia. This can be implemented thanks to the State Policy and Law 1523 of 2012, in compliance with the Sendai Framework, which focuses on 4 priorities. 1. Understanding disaster risk. 2. Strengthening governance to manage risk. 3. Investing in risk reduction for resilience. And 4. Enhancing disaster preparedness to respond effectively and build back better. Therefore, Colombia Great Power of Life is the focus of President Gustavo Petro and Vice President Francia Marquez's National Development Plan. We are advancing in transformations where the respect for water, its cycles, and ecosystems will lead Colombia to become a territory better adapted to climate change, providing the necessary benefits for the population's well-being and a prosperous economy. This involves interweaving water-centered planning, developing early warning systems, education, and empowering resilient communities. The knowledge and expertise of public, private, and community actors are crucial for understanding risk and making decisions in the territories. Creating strategic partnerships to promote science, technology, and innovation in disaster risk management allows IDRiM in Latin America to strengthen ties in pursuing risk knowledge by establishing an observatory for risk and climate change management. This initiative promotes multidisciplinary approaches and community participation, enabling the integration of experiences and learning for current and future challenges. We look forward to seeing you. IDRiM 2024, Cartagena de Indias, Colombia. Resilient Communities for Life, Colombia. Colombia Potencia de la Vida.
Thank you very much. Ana Maria, thank you.
Thank you, Mauricio, Maria Camila, and Jason. That was a very beautiful video. I think we haven't had such a beautiful video before. So yes, thank you very much. And we are very, we extend an invitation also to all the participants of IDRiM 2023. So thank you very much. And I pass the mic.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we are just moving on to the last stage of this session, as well as to close this a wonderful experience of 3 days in IDRiM 2023. So I'll hand over to Professor Anna to say a few words about the 3-day experience and yeah, to close the session.
I'm wordless. I'll sit here, but I want to, first of all, thank all the team that has helped to put the conference together. Without all the students, the faculty, the staff, this could not have been possible, especially Professor Sumi Sen. So I'd like to give a big applause. All our young scientists that did a marvelous job. I always learn a lot. So thank you so much. And of course, to all our participants, not only those that could come in person, but all of the online participants. I've seen many participants that stayed online the whole time. I don't know how they did it, because I know some were very far away in other time zones. I was making a list of words that I can remember. It's a huge list. So I won't go through the list, but I think a lot of the topics that have been touched upon reflect the heart or the soul of integrated disaster risk management. I think we've heard implementation, integration of models, integration of people, of disciplines, of government, of society in terms of community. I learned from many different disciplines. So there were new things, theater, new ways of making presentations. It has been really exciting, and thank you so much. I invite you, if you have not become a member of IDRiM, to join us, or at least join the next conference, and maybe you'll say, okay, I have to join this. We're always welcoming, especially young people, to contribute. This is, I think you have felt the warmness of the society. All of the researchers, senior researchers, younger researchers are very warm and welcoming and approachable. So it's a good chance for you to meet people, grow your network and learn. And also for us, we learn from all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. So I think I'll also take the few minutes. So we really want to thank from the Center of Excellence in Disaster Mitigation team side, as well as from IIT Roorkee side. We are really thankful to all of the participants who basically came from in person, plus also who have joined online. But the few words which I would like to add, what Professor Ana Maria Cruz added, that we have learned a lot, but also the relationships, the bond we have made here. And I think everyone, it was a small group. It's not like a 200, 300 people group, but that there are people who have been really focused on the disaster risk reduction to disaster risk management. And so the points, the connections you have made, don't let it go. Keep in touch with each other. And then I'm very sure we, as a collective way, we can really work together in future. And then we share the lessons, what we have been doing, the science we have been doing. And as David also mentioned in the speech, the talk, that when we are started talking about in our own silos of engineering or science or social science, we need to pass on to others. So we have to interact in an interdisciplinary way. And I have been in a core hydrology or the water-related conferences, but this is a group where the lots of other disciplines are there, and you learn from each other. You connect. So my few words will be that you take these connections forward and you don't let it go, but you connect and you learn and you pass on. Yeah. So with this, I would also like to conclude that it's really a great pleasure for IIT Roorkee to host everyone. If there is anything which have missed out from our side, we are sorry, but we will take care of it in a next future chance if you gave us. But we are really thankful to everyone. And from my side, I really would want to thank all my team members, including my faculty, as well as my student team. They really did a lot of work. Thank you. I hand it over to Shivani.
Thank you so much, Professor, and congratulations to all the participants. Now I request Professor Sri Krishnan, Professor CoEDMM IIT Roorkee, to kindly come on the stage to present a vote of thanks.
Hello, I'm Sri Krishnan. During these 3 days, I might have not got the opportunity to meet many of you. If some of you know me by name, I was the one behind many of your emails. So glad to meet you all, Sri Krishnan. You can register my face now. And I thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to propose this vote of thanks. Do not mind, it's not going to be longer and it's going to be simple, just from the part of our hearts. So, konnichiwa, hello, yoroshiku onegaishimasu. As we draw the IDRiM conference to a close, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you. The International Disaster and Risk Management IDRiM 2023 conference, which unfolded over the course of 3 intense and enlightening days, would not have been possible without your active participation and unwavering commitment. Throughout this event, we have had the privilege of hosting a diverse and dedicated audience who gathered from across the globe to collectively explore the critical issues surrounding disaster and risk management. Your presence, your insights, and your shared experiences have truly enriched this conference. Our sincere appreciation goes to our esteemed keynote speakers, session chairs, and presenters who shared their invaluable knowledge and expertise, sparking insightful discussions throughout the conference. Also, we would like to thank our participants and attendees for your active engagement, your thought-provoking solutions and questions, and the vibrant discussions that unfolded in our sessions and corridors, and also in the lunch hall, also yesterday in the gala dinner. We are deeply indebted to our sponsors and partners for their generous support, which made this conference possible. I would like to take a moment to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the dedicated members of the organizing committee. From selecting thought-provoking themes, deciding the technical sessions, and also the speakers to the coordinating logistics and registration, their dedication has been nothing short of remarkable. Behind the scenes, our volunteers, staffs, and support teams have been the backbone of this event. I would like to thank them for their unwavering support throughout the conference. A big round of applause for them. As we reflect on the theme and purpose of this conference, let us remember the importance of global collaboration in addressing disaster and risk management challenges. In closing, I once again thank you for being part of the IDRiM 2023 conference. Your presence has been instrumental, and we look forward to continuing this journey in future endeavors together in our efforts to address the challenges of disaster and risk management. Arigato gozaimasu. Watsukaro shomadeshita. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Many of our participants have missed a really evoking theatrical performance conducted in a technical session. So to conclude our valedictory ceremony and to show you all a beautiful performance on ecofeminism, I would like to call Dr. Devkalpa Basudas. Please welcome her again with a huge round of applause.
You were the living branches, their leafy verdure. In vibrant green, you have breathed life's exultant song. The first man worshipped you as one with nature, goddess. Bodied in flora, you made us strong. Now, bride, the green beneath the cloth is pale. The voice of the drum has stifled her dying call. The muted pain of uprootment has told no tale. Below the dais, the divine doll's veil shrouds all. Mother Nature is targeted now for matricide. Poisonous air does not find the green which purify. Forests are gone, deserts advance, death is now man's guide. Along with black smoke, impending doom covers earth and sky. Goddess of destruction wakes up with her terrible dance. The earth shakes, a violent storm blows her unbound head. With scimitar raised, she is now ready to advance. Descending darkness proclaims that the end of era is near. Will the Novoputrika now again raise her head high? Will she tear her veil and spread her fresh leaves all around? If she does, Air will bring life under bright and blue sky. Kali will become nourishing mother and bless the green ground.
Beautiful performance. This performance made me cry before and I cried again. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Basdas. After this, we are going to have a tea break. And after the break, we all have prepared a cultural event for all the participant and dignitaries. So that cultural event will be taking place at the back entrance of the LHC building. So I'm hoping to see you all there. Before that, I would like to request the members of IDRiM Society and the organizing committee to come forward for a group photograph. Others can join us for the tea. After that, please come for the cultural event. Thank you very much.